So not sure if you guys can hear that, but almost sounds like we got sounds like a wheel's gonna come off. Yeah, so that's interesting. I'll be back here. Hold on. So we got this Civic up in the air, and it's an all-motor car. And luckily, you can see the exhaust leak, but there's my O2 sensor. Header's been welded. I don't see any soot here, but we do got a leak on the head that I heard right away. It's seeing what the car is and whatnot. He could fix it down the road. If the tune needs a little bit of tweaking, it's going to need it. You see in this instance too, leaking oil. You know, it's one of these things. I'm not super picky about it. You know, at times I might charge a cleanup fee for the stuff we use to clean up. Other stuff to consider, and this will be fine for the dyno, but you know, that's a safety issue. You got the brake line rubbing. I don't use the brakes on the dyno anyways. The dyno has its own brake. But something that I'm going to point out, because, you know, if he leaves here and the brakes decide to fail, well, I got to document stuff like that. Over here we have some wiring just hanging, and it is what it is. It's a crank position sensor. Shouldn't have an issue with that. Same thing with the brake stuff. What I'm actually looking to make sure that the ball joint nuts are on and they look somewhat tight. Same with the tie rod nuts. You can see through there. That's basically what I'm doing to make sure that we don't have a suspension issue where a ball joint wants to break loose, tie rod wants to break loose. Go through the back of the car. This is just a once over. You know, this is what I do when a car's up in the air. If there's something at this point that I catch, you know, it's going to be, I just, if it's something big enough, I just won't put it on the dyno. This one, the exhaust leak is not going to be good, and I can get the car down. I'll show it to you guys. But seeing what the setup is, I'll still be able to tune it and finalize it. And like I said, if it needs some tweaking, then I'll let him know. He can bring it back in. I'll tweak it a little bit. Should be fine for what it is. More oil leaks down up there. I wonder if, seen a lot of times the alternator bolt, the bottom one is loose. Looks like we got some leaks all the way up there too, so not good. Not good nonetheless. We'll make sure this thing has oil in it, and then we will go from there. This one's being tuned on a chipped ECU, and I'll hop in really quick and explain that portion of that side of it. So I'm going to try to get the camera to focus. You can see the dipstick is actually pretty low. It's actually down a whole quart. If you're not familiar with Honda dipsticks, the bottom hole and then the top hole, that's actually a quart of oil. So we'll add a quart of oil. The other thing I was showing you guys or talking about is you can see the exhaust leak. Now, being that this is a fairly stock motor, it's all motor, I'm going to be able to compensate for this a little bit. It's got a little bit of an exhaust leak over here. Not good, nonetheless. And as I said, if the car needs a little bit tweaking afterwards, after he fixes it, you know, I'll tweak it. I'm not going to charge him. I don't run my business like that. So I got the car all set on the dyno. I got my computer in it, and I got the tune already started here. I built the tune for it. I loaded it up. Car runs. Now, when I turn it on, the check engine light's on. And with this computer, I can check the check engine light through my laptop. Well, a lot of guys will have an OBD1 computer, and, you know, you got no OBD2 scan port. You know, hey, my scanner won't read it. So for Hondas, come over here and you look here. You got these wires that are usually tucked up in this green thing. You got this two-prong wire where you got to jump this either with a paper clip, or we have these little nifty guys that we sell. It's almost like a keychain, and you could stick that right in there, and the check engine light will actually flash. 1 solid long flash means 10, short flashes mean 1, of course. And you're always going to have the shorter code come first. So let's say you got a code 2 and a code 7. You're going to have code 2 pop up first. So it might be a little complicated, might be a little tricky. There's a bunch of other YouTube videos on this. I always tell people too, if you don't know how to read it, send me a video, I'll read it for you. But this car, now keep in mind too, was dyno ready. I asked the customer, was ready for the dyno. He said yes. I'll be able to tune it. Is the tune going to be 100% how it should be? Well, we're already working up going up the hill here. It's got a code. Actually got a TPS code. TPS looks like it's definitely been replaced, because in the back of these motors, and we're putting oil in it right now. In the back of the motors, the TPS is right there, and they're usually riveted on. Well, this one doesn't have rivets, got Allen heads, so you can see it's been messed with before. The other big thing too, we got some random wiring that's going everywhere. The fan's on all the time, which is never a good thing. You don't want a fan all the time, on all the time. You want the car to be able to reach operating temperature and hold it there. The other thing, which is kind of common too, this clip is broken, slides right off. I'll actually stick a zip tie around here to hold that in. Fairly common stuff. Getting the oil added right now. We're going to get onto this car, finish this tune up, and see if I pop back up here. So we have a spare TPS. What we'll do simply is plug it in really quick, see if it wants to work correctly. If it wants to work correctly, then we know it's not a wiring issue. We know it's either a TPS issue, the sensor itself, or it's not inside the little ears, I guess you can say. This has a little male, called a little male stick, and that sits in like a U-shaped area. And if you don't get it centered, if you get it over here or whatever, it's not going to fully open. So we're going to plug this in and see what it wants to do. So we have our program open. New sensor is in my technician's hand. Go ahead and hit it all the way open. So you can see it's opening and it's working. We're going to take the old sensor out. Either it wasn't in correctly or it's a bad sensor. We're going to swap it out real quick so we can at least get rid of that one trouble code. So we just tested his sensor too. We got it off the throttle body, and his sensor works, so we're going to save him some money in that aspect. He shouldn't need a new sensor. It just wasn't in the prongs, the ears. I'll try to hop out and find a throttle body to show you guys too, so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I walked over and got a new throttle body just to show you guys. See that little U shape? If you don't line it up, and you line it up on one side or the other side, that could be an issue. Now we see it a lot, so hopefully this helps some people. So not sure if you guys can hear that, but almost sounds like we got sounds like a wheel's gonna come off. Yeah, so that's interesting. I'll be back here, hold on. So I was letting the car get the operating temperature, and since the fan is always on, this is going to be a problem where the car is not going to want to get the operating temperature. And if the customer doesn't let it sit, and of course he has no way of monitoring it, the actual temperature gauge, it's at the normal position now. This will not move at all from between like 140 degrees to like 225. That's just how it's designed. So the customer needs to fix the fan. If he doesn't fix the fan and he's not at operating temperature, the car is going to add more fuel in the back half of the program because it thinks it's going to be running cooler, and it's not. So the other thing, the TPS light came back on at about 5% throttle. We're at 10%. It doesn't want to work at all. And if you heard the noise, I don't know how the video will pick up the noise. I'll try to get a video of it slowing down on the dyno, because then you could really hear it. But I mean, it sounds like a wheel bearing, maybe an axle issue. It doesn't sound pleasant, to say the least. So we got one that's gonna fight with us and make my job that much harder. So we're at a stopping point here, and I have my handy dandy helper tonight putting in new plugs for me. At a stopping point where we checked the plugs that were in the car. Now, keeping in mind the car did run here, the car was dyno ready. What we're looking for is, and we got NGKs going in it. NGKs are going in it. Bosch's were in there. Stick the NGKs. What we're looking for is inconsistency. And you can see in the one cylinder, look how dark it is compared to these. So something is going on with that one cylinder. Either that one cylinder is running super rich, I won't say super rich, or these other ones are running lean. There's really no way to tell. So that's something to keep an eye on. Now, what I will say, could it be something as simple as he needs to do a proper tune-up? Are the wires old? I don't know what brand wire these are. I know NGK blues are blue wires, of course, but these look a little lighter than the normal NGK blues. And I believe the NGK blues actually use a black top here. So I'm not sure the brand. I don't see a brand on there. You know, is the spark plug cap, has that been replaced? Has the rotor been replaced? All that is essential and crucial to the tune. Now, the other thing that I noticed when I was starting to tune is the idle is a little bit high, which, you know, the idle air control valve is working. I can control that. The other thing is, do we have a small little vacuum leak somewhere? Not sure on that. So this one's pretty much a wrap. Calling it finished because the motor's smoking a good amount. It's got some kind of oil. We know it's leaking underneath. We saw that, but it's under a hard pull. It is smoking. It's coming from this area, which ultimately he does got an exhaust leak. That's after the O2 sensor. He's got this one exhaust leak too, which you can see up here. Car is ultimately not only the spark plug stuff. The car is down power, and I believe the motor is just weak. At this point, I would recommend him doing the leak down test, which still might not show anything. But for the power he's making, we should be making more power, and we're pretty much maxed out with the tune itself. There's not anything I can do to magically make it any better. The other thing, too, I'm not sure if you're able to hear the noise on the dyno. The noise is pretty scary, to say the least. We're taking this car up to 100 miles per hour plus. If the wheel bearing wants to explode, if an axle wants to explode at 100 miles per hour or faster, we're going to have a major issue, which in that sense, you know, we're taking in safety, everything in consideration. We don't want something to explode and hurt the vehicle, hurt the car. Something lets go and punctures the oil pan and hot oil gets on the exhaust. We can have a fire. There's more to it that you have to remember. That just, I have some guys every now and then will just, you know, if it blows up on the dyno, it blows up. Keep going with it. Have to remember that the dyno is not cheap. I have to take that into consideration and everybody's safety. I can't burn down the building and can't burn down my dyno stuff. So at this point, with the power that he is at, there's no sense to keep on pushing it. He's going to have to figure that out, where the motor is weak and what he is, why he's losing the power. You know, the other thing too, just looking at it, the filter is filthy. You know, there's actually rocks in it. All this stuff adds up. This ain't the main issue, and this ain't the main issue why he's losing power, but it all adds up. What you have to remember at the end of the day is you're bringing your car to the dyno to try to get every last drop of performance, horsepower out of it. It takes how long to clean a filter? It takes how much money to replace cap and rotor? And just judging by the dust, you know, it looks like the rotor's never been replaced. All this stuff adds up. Just because your car is running correctly on the street doesn't mean it's going to perform how it should on the dyno. And as I said before, and I'll keep saying it in these videos, because if you didn't watch episode 1, which I'll link down below, these videos ain't to call people out. These videos ain't to hurt feelings and make people feel bad. These videos are to educate and help people. To help people maybe, understand or have something click in their mind. This guy's radiator fan is on constantly. It is not good. It is not good to overcool your motor. Your engine should be at an operating temperature at all time, and that's where it should stay. This car's dropping way below that. I think at one time, I was stuck at 135 degrees. Where we want to be at temperature-wise is we want to be around 180 degrees. Your engine's not getting warmed up. It's just little stuff like that. And that's little stuff, too, that you might not think in your head. Or, maybe you want to run the fan on all the time. Well, maybe you watch this video and maybe think twice. We get some guys, too, that will want to run no thermostat because they think it's a good idea. It's not really a good idea to run no thermostat. I'm not saying every situation's going to be the same. Maybe you're fighting an overheating issue. Maybe it's a crazy setup. We're talking about basic setups here. This is a basic all-motor setup. It shouldn't have these exhaust leaks. This exhaust leak beforehand, that makes my job that much harder. It shouldn't have that much oil. Not only is it dripping that much oil, he was down a quart of oil. Let's say he didn't check it for another week and then he brought it here, and if he was down, 2 quarts of oil, what's going to happen if it goes dry on the dyno? Well, you're going to have a big issue. So that's just why I'm trying to educate guys. And as I said in a Facebook post, this isn't just for my customers. It's going on YouTube, and this is where you're watching it. Hopefully this can help another tuner on the other side of the world. Hopefully a guy right now is over in Europe, and maybe he's going to bring a car to a tuner, and maybe he says, oh, okay, well, my fan's always on. Let me fix that first. Or let me talk to my tuner. The other thing, too, is I was looking at the spark plugs and going on about that, and it's late here. He ran a Bosch spark plug. I don't recommend Bosch. I recommend NGK. I recommend a certain part number for each setup. Now, you can say, well, how am I supposed to know what spark plug to run? I see myself a lot of posts on Facebook. Which spark plug should I run? Which spark plug is best? Talk to your tuner. Ask your tuner these important questions. He should have a valid answer. If you ask your tuner which spark plugs you should run, and he tells you something like, oh, go look on Google, or, run what you want to run, you should question that maybe tuner. If you ask him about what injectors that he prefers, hey, I'm looking at these injectors. Have you had a problem with these injectors? And if he says, yeah, go to this injector. This is the injector that I want it to be on. And he has valid points and reasonings. He's your tuner for a reason. Now, there's always a fine line where some guys might think that a tuner is out to get them. You have to build a relationship and trust issue with people. I've been doing this for 21 years, a little bit longer than that now. You have to put some faith into where you're bringing your car. You got to trust the tuner and the process. I tell people to read reviews on anything. You want to get a fence put in? Go read some reviews. Search RC Auto Works. Read some reviews about us. You're going to see pretty much the same thing, and what people tell me from my videos. What I'm speaking here on videos is what I speak in real life. This ain't a fake video thing that I put on. I don't do videos for a living. So there's my 7-minute rant. Hopefully you guys enjoy these videos. I'm going to keep them coming to educate people, to show guys what the tuning life is about at times. It's not all glorious. Some cars are a headache. Some cars fight you, even when they shouldn't fight you. And some cars are brought in like this, and you got to work with what you got sometimes, and other times you have to simply tell the customer, no, it's not going on the dyno. Can't do it, you got to fix such and such first, and then I'll tune it. And that's exactly what we did with the other car in the video number 1. We fixed all his exhaust leaks, and it's going to go on the dyno, and we'll go from there. So you guys got questions, you got comments, let me know. I'll be glad to answer them. Best way to reach me too, though, if you're watching this, if you call the shop, you got to remember, I don't just sit at my desk 24/7, so it's hard to get me on the phone at times. Your best bet is email. You can comment below. Enjoy yourself, guys. Take care.